I believe that, we look at some entrepreneurs and we say, oh, they're so lucky because this happened to them. I had luck, but luck is usually combined with consistency and hard work. Me getting in, I was in the Wall Street Journal, and kind of the story behind that is the Wall Street Journal wanted to do a story on this trendy new high school senior photography because it was really growing really quick. And they had reached out to a high school senior photographer and, hey, do you know any more? Do you know any? We're looking for a few to interview. And then they knew me because I was very well networked. I had a magazine. I was going to like workshops. I'm extroverted. I'm a talker. People know me. That was like a lot of like my growth, but it was consistency, and I hustled and I worked.
Luck is preparation plus timing, maybe a bit of chance. Like, sure, opportunities out of our control can come across our path, and they do, right? But like, have we put in the preparation to take advantage of those? So, like, for sure, it's hard work. Welcome back to the Art of Online Business podcast. My co-host Jamie is here.
Hello.
4-ish months as a co-host, 15-ish years as a wonderful wife. And today we are interviewing Brittni Schroeder. So these 2 episodes, if this is your first time hearing of her on the podcast, she will be back for a second episode. And if you are interested in anything that has to do with selling more of your stuff via email marketing, building funnels, automations, so that you can get more of the thing that you were blessed and gifted to serve people with and help them out there to those people, then you're going to want to listen to this episode about Brittni, because you'll hear how she built her business. And then in the next one, we're going to talk specifically about email marketing and funnels, because she's a specialist. She's a business coach and a marketing strategist. She helps coaches automate their businesses, create systems, convert funnels, and scale to 6 figures and beyond. That sounds good, right, Jamie?
That does sound good.
Right? I'm down.
Thanks for being here, Brittni.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I haven't even finished introducing you. Let me finish introducing you, Brittni. You worked as a high school senior photographer for 10 years. You actually owned and operated a magazine up till 2017. And then you've been featured in the Wall Street Journal. You've been featured in Good Morning America, several other publications. Wow. I can't wait to hear about your current business, where you help folks build funnels, automations, systems. You're a business coach and marketing strategist. I would love to know what a bit snapshot of your business is right now. And thank you for being on the show.
Yeah. So my business, do we want to start from the beginning? Do you want me to tell you how I got here? Is that what we want to do?
Let's start with your business now, the offers that you have, and what you love most about like how you work with people. And then we can go back in time and see like the evolution of the business.
So now I am a business and marketing coach, and I help people. Ultimately, like I look at people's businesses and I say, how can we like streamline this? How can we automate this? How can we build funnels? A lot of entrepreneurs, they come up with this really great idea, and that's usually like their offer. And they're selling a little bit. They sell, that's exciting because it works. People want it, but then they just kind of get stuck. And that's where I come in, where I go and I dissect the business and say, like, let's automate this so that we can scale. A lot of times it's not run efficiently because there's no automations, there's no systems, there's no funnels. And you can only go so far with that. So I will go in and kind of look at the business. We look at the traffic, like what kind of traffic are you getting towards your business? What kind of funnels do you have set up? What automations? And then how can we scale? I always say like minutes add up to hours. And when we're spending all this time sending emails and, the hustle, it adds up to hours. And then that's why a lot of entrepreneurs get burnt out, is because they are focusing on the things that don't help them scale, but they're just like, they're running their business, they're doing everything. And so these systems, automations, and funnels are essential to scale. A lot of times you're only one person and you can only do so much, and you need to focus on the things that bring you the most revenue. So that is kind of what I do. I know that sounds like really broad, but it is, we really just like automate systems, funnels, do all the things that help you scale your business.
Broad, but so needed by most of the folks that I know, including ourselves. You're right. Like all those things just suck up our time. But like if it was truly automated and if it was selling like it should be, we could focus on, let's call it the CEO tasks more in our business. All right. So what kind of offers do you have that you're serving folks with?
So I have a membership that's called the Meeting Place. And this is for somebody who is more likes the self-paced. Like they can, like, hey, I want to learn how to do this. I can go into this membership, watch tutorials, watch videos, get the templates, kind of do that. That is more like a self-paced, somebody who can do it on their own. And that's called the Meeting Place. I also have a course called Email Funnel. I have lots of things, guys. I have lots of things, but I also have a course called the Email Funnel Builders, where I teach you how to build and automate a funnel, where we go from your freebie, your lead magnet, and how to build a funnel there, how to build a funnel post purchase once somebody purchases, how do you automate that part of that funnel. And that's called Email Funnel Builders. And then I do one-on-one. If you're somebody who needs more hands-on, needs, somebody to kind of do part of it for you, keep you accountable and move the needle that way, then I offer one-on-one coaching as well. So that is, I have a few other things. You can check it out on my website. Like I have some templates and a few other like mini courses, but those are my three main ones that I focus the most on.
Nice.
I would love some details on, let's
Yeah.
say, like which one, like what percentage does each make up of your business revenue? You don't have to share numbers, but I'm curious.
So my one-on-one coaching, I would say, is probably my biggest revenue. It's just because it's high price, high touch. So I'm very, very hands-on. So a conversation that I might have with a one-on-one client might be like, do you want me to do this? Do you want me to teach you how to do this? Do you want me to do this for you? Like, what is it? And so because there's a lot of high touch, I'm really diving into their business and fixing things and writing things. I have a copywriter that helps me with copy. That one is probably my biggest revenue. I guess over like probably if you look at it, my revenue over the length of my business, they all are probably eventually all kind of, it's pretty balanced. But that my membership and my one-on-one is probably my biggest of revenue maker in my business. So
Makes sense.
How many do you have in your membership?
right now, it's like any membership, it like ebbs and flows. I think right now there's 30 or so, 30 or 40 in there. Active, not 30 or 40, but the ones that come to the calls, so that's about like I said, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's the same people that show up every week, I feel like, and then there's other people who are in there that just are in the background, watch the replays, watch the videos, use the resources. So
Hey, yeah, I mean,
Nice.
I used to run a membership back in the day for elementary Chinese. Like, so I
Yeah.
get it. I mean, 30, 40 active folks is
Right.
solid.
Right.
Yeah. So now that we have a snapshot of your business, I love the one-on-one coaching, by the way. I just finished up a project with a copywriter to redo a couple of sales pages and an email sequence. And so like the fact that you coach, you can teach someone how to, and you also have like the team, it sounds like what you're saying, right? To go ahead and do projects. That's really super helpful. But you weren't always. You were always helpful, but you weren't always a business coach and marketing strategist. Like, take us back to your photography days and what happened specifically that got you to leave photography and start out on this other business journey?
well, you never actually leave photography. So it's funny because I say, oh, I was a photographer for this many years, but I still take pictures. But
iPhone picture right here, I'm sorry. I may have just like
I call it
blasphemed.
sometimes when I get the big girl camera. That's what I call my big girl
The
camera.
big
So,
girl
yeah.
camera.
Right?
So, no, I started, it's interesting. I remember being younger, little, and thinking like, I'm going to be a businesswoman. And then you get to college and you're like, you're like forced to like choose exactly what you want to do. And you don't really know what you want to do. So I have a bachelor's degree in exercise science and I never used it. So, but,
Hey, me too.
do you really? Nice.
Exercise science and wellness. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You
but,
two are pioneers.
yeah. So, I mean, I do like to exercise, so there's that, but nothing career-wise. So I mean, this kinda ages me, but when I had my second son, it was like blogging was really starting to be big, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna blog," and then, of course, I'm like, "Okay, my pictures are not as pretty as these bloggers' pictures," and so that's kind of where I started my interest in photography, and then I got a camera for Mother's Day, And I'm like a lifetime student. Like, I love to learn, and if money and time wasn't an issue, I'd go to school for the rest of my life. Like, I just love to learn.
Okay, all right, me too, me too.
But so I started doing photography, and then I started just, learning, watching like videos and just like self-taught, just anything I could find on photography I was learning. I signed up at the local community college for some classes, and I took some workshops, and of course, it's kind of a joke in the photography industry that people say, "Oh, you have a really nice camera. Like, that's why you're a good photographer," you know? It's kind of like the running joke, but it's like, "No, it takes a little bit more than that." And so, uh, but anyway, around that same time, people started asking me because I had a really nice camera, quote unquote, right, to take their pictures. And then at first it's fun because you're taking people's pictures. And after a while, you're like, okay, like I need to make money. If I'm going to be taking pictures, I need to make money. And so that's around that same time I decided, I'm going to do this as a business. And shortly after I decided it was a business, my husband at the time got a job, and we moved to El Paso, Texas. And if you're familiar with El Paso, it's on the border. So it's like Texas and Mexico is like a stone throw away, like
I think
Cross
literally.
the
it's
street.
I think it's Juarez. Like,
Yeah,
Juarez
Juarez.
is the Mexican
You
city.
gotta say it,
Mhm.
El Paso's
Juarez.
there.
Come on, you guys
Oh,
are in Mexico, Juarez.
sorry.
No, no, I'm
I
like,
don't wanna
what are we
sound
All
saying?
those are
it's
Juarez.
because, like, I just code switch. If I'm talking to, like, Americans, I'm just gonna say it American, like, less like I be like that kinda snooty, "Oh, he speaks Spanish, and he only says things." Yeah, okay.
Juarez.
Juarez. Now that I've been corrected.
No, now you know who you're dealing with. I lived there for 8.5 years. So, anyway, but at the same, so I moved there and I said, I'm going to do it as a business. And it's interesting because whenever I'm like mentoring or I'm coaching people, especially new in their business, I always say your business will evolve. What your business looks like now might look completely different in a year from now. And so just keep that in mind. But when I first started, I thought I wanted to take pictures of kids and families, and I soon realized, like, oh, no, no, I do not have the personality. Like, I am a control freak. I need a little bit more control. I can't have like the chaos. So I decided that I want to do high school senior photography. And when I moved to that area, again, it's on the border, so the medium income was really low because we have the military base, Fort Bliss, and then we're on where it's border, so border town. So medium income was really low, but I had gone in with this mindset that like, no, I'm going to make money. Like I'm going to charge like a lot. Like I've invested, and that's the thing with photography. Like you're like I joked to my daughter, someone this was a couple weekends ago, and she wanted to take pictures with my camera, and I gave her my camera, and she'd given it to a friend. We were at like a wrestling tournament. And I said, "Oh, honey, don't let anybody, not anybody can use my." I said, "My camera is worth more than your car, babe. Like, don't be letting people like shoot my camera." So, but it was an investment. So that at that time, I'm like, I'm not gonna not charge. I'm gonna charge. And I remember meeting with some other photographers for like lunch, and I was new, so they were like, get in a filler for me. And they said, how much do you charge? And I told them, and at the time it wasn't even that much. It was like $500. And they're like, there's no way you'll make that type of money here. People will not pay that. And I remember, I don't know if I verbalized it or if I just thought it, but I'm like, oh, there's money everywhere. I will find it. I will find the money. So it's interesting because like I had never even taken a marketing or business class really ever, but it came very natural to me. Like I'm very analytic. I'm very much like my dad's an engineer, so I say that I get it from him, but I'm very left brained. I'm very like numbers oriented. I'm like, oh, I'll find it. I'll find the money. And so I started my business there, and I did my market research. Like I researched where is the money, what schools have the most money, and I did that by looking at test scores. There's a direct correlation between income and high schools with high test scores. There just is. That's the reality of it. And then I asked around, and then I started looking for free marketing. Started looking for high school seniors who would do some marketing for me.
The more attractive looking seniors, right?
No, not
No,
necessarily.
not
You think
necessarily?
that would be the case. No, it was once well, my ideal client was somebody who spent a lot of money, and so I was looking for, I'm in Texas, obviously, so I'm looking for anybody who's into, like, equestrian, anything with horses, that's a lot of money. I'm looking for people who are, like, in, like, dance clubs, who are, like, competitive cheerleaders, like people who I knew invested a lot of money on their kids. And so I targeted these schools, and I made a list of like 10 schools in order, and I started targeting them, and I started shooting just for free. But in trade for, "Hey, I'm new to the area, I'll shoot," in trade for it, you have to promote me. You have to do X, Y, and Z. You have to post on your social media, all these things. And then my network kept getting bigger and bigger, and then I would say, "Okay, do you know somebody at this school? Do you know somebody here?" And I just kept doing that. And I remember at like 8 probably like 8 months in, I had pushed myself to shoot every week, whether it was free or paid. And I remember 8 months thinking, "I'm so exhausted and I'm frustrated. When is it gonna happen for me?" And literally, it was like the next week. I mean, I actually verbalized that to my friend, like, "When is this gonna happen?" And the next week, I just started getting sessions booked, and I was booked out like 3 months out. Like, I had a wait list, you know? And, during that time, I with my friend, we decided, "Let's start a photography magazine." Again, like, no idea how to do anything, but let's do it. Sure, we can figure it out. And so we started this photography magazine, and it was called Mosey Magazine, and we were featuring other photographers, and it was literally the most beautiful magazine. Like, we're sad we sold it, and the person that bought it never did anything with it, and we're, like, so sad because it was, like, beautiful, like, just so pretty. But anyway, again, so I just had a lot of things going on. I was, super involved in a lot of things, but, my photography business really, like, took off. And it's interesting because you hear, like, coaches or people in the industry saying, "Raise your prices, charge what you're worth, charge this," and there is truth to that, but there's also a formula, and the formula is your experience. The formula is supply and demand. The formula is, like, your demographic, your ideal client. Like, it's not just if like, "Oh, I'm gonna charge all this money. I have no experience, no business." It doesn't I mean, it could work for some people, but for most people, it doesn't. Like, there's definitely, like, a formula, and it was a supply and demand thing for me where I was like, "Okay, when I'm done, once I hit this many." I actually was like, it was every year I'd raise my prices, and I kept getting busier and busier, so I had that supply and demand, and I thought, "Okay, I'm gonna raise my prices. Will I lose business? Yes, I'm gonna lose a little business, but I'm gonna be making the same or more because I'm charging." And by the end of that time that I was in El Paso, I started at $500 for a session. By the time I left, I was making on average between 1,800 and 2,500 per high school senior, per client. Yeah. And so it was, and I wasn't working weekends. I had built such a strong brand and people wanted to work with me that I didn't work on weekends. I told people, like, "Sorry, I know it gets dark at 5. You're gonna have to check out of school." Like, I don't, this is what I do. Like, I built this brand. And, another thing that kinda helped the brand is I had the magazine, so I was very well networked. I knew a lot of photographers because I'm getting photographers to work to be featured in my magazine, and it just opened a lot of doors for me. I that's kind of like, I believe that, we look at some entrepreneurs and we say, "Oh, they're so lucky because this happened to them," and I had luck, but luck is usually combined with consistency and hard work, and so me getting in, I was in the Wall Street Journal, and kind of the story behind that is the Wall Street Journal wanted to do a story on this trendy new high school senior photography because it was really growing really quick, and they had reached out to a high school senior photographer and, "Hey, do you know any more? Do you know any, we're looking for a few to interview." And then they knew me because I was very well networked. I had a magazine, I was going to, like, workshops. I'm extroverted, I'm a talker, people know me. And they had reached out to a few high school senior photographers to interview, and she connected with me and said, "Oh, you're the one. You're the one I wanna interview." And she flew out from New York and did this whole piece on high school senior photography. And then Good Morning America picked up the story, and it was like my 15 minutes of fame, but it definitely helped my brand because it was all over in El Paso. Then I think the El Paso News picked it up. They did a story on me, so it was like it was really big, but it just kept building my brand, and I was able to charge more. So, yeah, so it was like a really cool, and then I was getting asked to judge, like, Miss New Mexico USA and Miss El Paso Teen and all these pageants. I was getting pageant. So it just kind of that was like a lot of like my growth, you know? But it was consistency and I hustled and I worked and was there luck? Yes, but there was a lot of hustle and a lot of like consistency.
I think that
Mhm.
luck is preparation plus timing, maybe a bit of chance. Like, sure, opportunities out of our control can come across our path, and they do, right? But like, have we put in the preparation to take advantage of those? Like, for sure,
Mhm.
it's hard work.
Mhm.
The listener has to be wondering by now, as I am, and Jamie is.
Mhm. Me
You
too.
have all the
Yeah.
cred, you're on Good Morning America in the Wall Street Journal, and then connect the dots to becoming a business coach and marketing strategist.
So around that same time, I like what had happened is in addition to like all this other stuff happening, I was speaking at a lot of like photography conferences, and I was always asked to speak on the business part. And I say a lot of times like my the business part came really naturally to me. The creative side was what I had to like really work at because I wasn't naturally. I mean, I am creative, but it didn't come as natural as it does to some. And so I always just like loved business. And around that same time, I was my husband at the time gets another job in a different place and we're moving. And I was like, oh man, do I want to start over another location based business? Do I wanna, like, and I was also moving we were moving from El Paso, and I owned the market. There wasn't anybody who did it the way that I did it, because it was a whole experience. It was hair and makeup, and it was, like, swag, and it was, like, I was picking out their clothes, like, it was a my model was really, like, unique in the area, and I was like, I don't wanna I wanna be able to have the flexibility of living it like, working wherever I'm at. And do I wanna start over? And when we moved from El Paso to Houston, I had a lot more competition. It was more saturated. There was a lot more photographers, and I was just ready for a change, and I'm like, I'm getting old." I mean, I still feel like I'm 16, but I'm not. So there's that. But I was like, "You know what? This is a good time to pivot." Around that same time, I didn't I missed I kind of skipped over this part, but I have worked in the nonprofit sector for, like, 15 years, and I was doing a lot of nonprofit work. I was going to Haiti and I was doing a lot of PR. And then in 2017, I started my own nonprofit where I'm putting these like compassion clubs in schools. And I ended up getting certified as a life coach. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I wanted these skills, you know? And, during that time, I'm in this, like, cohort with the other life coaches, and are starting off, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they need so much help with their business." Like, they are just struggling, and I'm helping them with their business, and I thought, "You know what? This might be a good time to pivot." And I was helping other photographers, I was mentoring other photographers with their business. So I knew that definitely was a strength of mine. So I'm like, you know what? This is probably maybe this is the time to pivot because we were moving. I dabbled a little in photography in Houston, but I was like, no, I really like this business. If I'm going to do anything, I want to help people with their businesses because I'm good at it and I've done it before. I've built six-figure businesses before. Like I want to do this. So that's at that time, and then COVID hits, so then we're like, "Okay, like, you are stuck at home. Like, what can you do at home?" And so it was just like a good time for me to pivot and do business and marketing, and I love it, and it's super but even my business and marketing, my business has evolved because when I first started at coaching, I'm teaching them how to market, I'm teaching them social media, I'm teaching them this, and I quickly learned, like, gosh, like, I can give people all these tools, they have to do the work. And that's a frustration with being a coach for a business coach. I can teach you everything that I know how to do, but you gotta put in the work. There is no easy button in running a business. And so I posted something not too long ago that said, if you find a business coach that tells you that it's easy to grow your business and you're going to make all this money, they're not a good business coach. They're a good scammer because it's not, it's a lot of work. It's not as easy as sometimes people try to make you think it is. It's definitely, you have to put in the work, the time. It can be challenging.
So do you prefer the title of business coach or marketing coach?
Well, it's tricky because they kind of go hand in hand. You know what I mean? Like, because it is marketing, but you got to have the foundational parts of your business. You got to have the automations, the systems, you kind of have to have that. So I'm overall looking at their businesses, but at the end of the day, every business owner needs traffic to grow their business. You have to have traffic, and funnels is, the way that, you know, the traffic is what you need to get in your funnel. So they kind of go hand in hand. So, I like the marketing part, but a lot of it is like technical parts of setting up the foundations in your business.
Right.
Good answer. Your lead magnet that you have yourself that you're using to grow your email list is very, very enticing because we're writing sales funnels right now, and it's called the High Converting Sales Funnel Guide. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, it basically just kind of starts you out on what is a funnel, why do you need it, and all the elements that you need to build a funnel. Again, here's the thing: is it's marketing. You have to test everything, but this gives you like the tools of this is how you set it up, this is what it is, and this is why you need it in your business. So,
Okay. All right.
Great.
Last question. Surprise question. In photography, what constitutes a photo? There's like a spectrum that I read about on the internet, right? One is like a true photo, a real photo. One is as the camera captures it or very close to that. And the other side says, well, the photo is more the memory. So it's definitely okay to be able to use like AI to edit out people from the background and change this and change that and use filters and all this. Which do you believe is the true photo?
oh, I mean, when you start out, you're just kind of like you're just trying to figure it out, and things are might not look good. But if it, I would say straight out of the camera. Like when I first started, I would take probably 500 pictures, and I'd maybe have 10 to 15 good ones. Now that I know how to use like my camera, the tools that I have, I mean, it takes me a long time to narrow it down to my 60 to 70 best ones. So I think it's subjective. It's art, it's subjective, right? And so for me, I am a lifestyle photographer. I like to capture emotion. I don't I will take like the posed pictures, but to me it's like the capturing the moment, lifestyle, more natural looking, more emotion. So I think it depends on who you're talking to. Like for me, it is I like the candid, I like the emotion, I like the uncurated images, but we all tweak, we all edit a little bit, we all enhance our images. I mean, not everybody, but I would say a majority of photographers do. So it's I guess who you talk to because it's subjective. Art is subjective, right?